Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I'm your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever happened, everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is produced by the Society of Knowledge. The Society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common, and that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show. And that's to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is July the 14th, 2022. I remind you that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. The order of our show, we'll have our announcements. I don't think we're going to have any testimonies tonight, but we may. Then we'll have our religious spiritual study, and we're reminded, as always, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And we're reminded that in the first book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. And as I say, prove all things. That's not it. As Thessalonians say, prove all things. So even though you might hear me say something on the show, you might hear one of our panel members say something, don't take that for gospel. Prove it yourself. Check it out. Do your own research. And if you find out that it's true, then by all means, hold fast to it. But if you find out that it's not quite right, let it go. All right. And if you hear me say something on the show, don't wait until next week to let me know. Post your comments in Facebook. Let me know so I can try to make that correction on air. All we want to do is give out correct information on this program. And for those of you that are new to the program, one of the things that we emphasize on this program is that this is an open and safe space. So you might have a little bit different understanding than I do. I might have a little bit different understanding than the next person. And we can disagree. We can disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree, but we can do that civilly. Okay, we can disagree without being disagreeable. So we don't want to attack anyone because they have a different opinion, a different understanding. We can let it be known that that's not what we understand, but we don't have to attack anyone. As I say, we can disagree without being disagreeable. Our discussion topic tonight, the warrior queens, and something else that should have been entered into that, the Nubian warrior queens. Some of us may not know what that means. Nubian might be a new word, a new term, but we're going to find out about that tonight. I don't want to say too much right now about our presenter, but it's a person that knows exactly what they're talking about from the world of academia, and she's going to share some knowledge with us. All right. And again, that's coming up very, very shortly. And our words of inspiration tonight, after that presentation, our words of inspiration will come out of the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verses 1 through 15, if we get that far. What you see on the screen right now, that's our main website, and that's www.godisalmighty.org. I encourage all of you to go to that website, and you see all those social media platforms that are outlined there. We have a blog page, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok. You don't have to write all that down. Just lock that website in, www, very easy to remember, www.godisalmighty.org. God is Almighty. You see that? The only purpose of this show is to deliver the message that God is Almighty, and that's the actual name of our website. God is Almighty. So lock that into your web browser 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go to that website, and there are links that you can just click on. Just click on, you'll take to the blog, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I encourage you to go ahead and visit that website, lock it into your web browser. The Lafayette, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge. Yes, we do have a Lafayette Center, and that's presided over by Messenger Ryan King. We have an Opelousas Center, and that's presided over by Messenger Corey Levier. We have a Central Florida Center, and that's presided over by Messenger Tay Narvell. And we're working on things, and we're going to try to get some centers open up on the West Coast and on the East Coast. We're getting the South pretty much covered now. So we want to spread out a little bit, get these centers, these knowledge centers spread out, and not only nationally, but internationally. And again, the only purpose is to deliver the message that God is Almighty. And what those centers do is they provide a safe space for the exchange of knowledge, a safe space. And as I said in the beginning, that we are interdenominational. So it doesn't matter if you're Catholic, Baptist, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, it doesn't matter what your faith, even if you don't have a religion, it doesn't matter. You're welcome at the society. And as I say, we are interdenominational. So we like to create spaces internationally where you can come and you can mix and mingle with other people that have one thing in common, and that's the knowledge that there is an almighty being. Just a reminder that, if you're looking for a church home, if you're looking for a spiritual home, a place where you can come and worship, place where you can come and share knowledge about the Almighty, then come to the society. If you're looking for a place where, and again, baptisms, weddings, funerals, they say we're full service ministry. So you're invited to come check us out. Start out by going to the website. And something else in the city of New Orleans, I invite you to come and you can worship with us, fellowship with us. And we'll get to that in just a minute. COVID-19, yes, I do believe in getting vaccinated. And we know that COVID is back on uptick. It's not killing people like it was, but it still is killing people. So I encourage you, please get vaccinated. Imani Temple number 49 of the African American Catholic Congregation. Again, congratulations. And I'm going to have to change this. It says on there, Bishop John W. Milton is the pastor. Well, that's not correct anymore. This past week, Bishop John W. Milton was elevated to the Archbishop of the African American Catholic Congregation. So they had their celebration up in D.C. I couldn't make it because I had other things to attend to down here. But Archbishop John W. Milton, who's also the pastor of Imani Temple number 49, and that's located in Lafayette, Louisiana. And Archbishop Milton, I'm happy to say that Archbishop Milton is not only a friend, but he is also a member of the Society of Knowledge. Imani Temple number 28 of the African American Catholic Congregation, located here in New Orleans, Louisiana, that's presided over by Bishop Wendy Mee. He's the pastor. Previously recorded episodes of the message can be watched on television on Cox Cable Orleans Channel 76 on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go to our YouTube page and you can see previously recorded episodes of the message. As you see on the screen right now, that's our billboard. So those of you that are riding through the New Orleans area, you'll see we have a billboard up, and look what it says on there. The message: God is Almighty. That's simply the God is Almighty. As I say, the purpose of this: God is Almighty. Great billboard up there delivering that message. More than 500,000 impressions every week. The Society of Knowledge has a fellowship and celebration every second and fourth Sunday. Our next fellowship will be July 24th, 2022 at 10 a.m. at Imani Temple number 28, 2411 Treasure Street. As I say, it doesn't matter what your religion is, no matter what title or label that you give yourself, you're welcome to come. And I encourage you to come. I invite you. Come on down. Come on, fellowship with us, 10 a.m., Imani Temple number 28. All right. That's why I was talking so fast and moving so fast, because I am in a hurry. I am in a hurry to get this party started, our religious spiritual study session, and our discussion topic tonight, the warrior queens. All right. I'm getting ready to, and let me pull this down. I want to just introduce a little bit background about our presenter tonight. And you see something I posted earlier on Facebook. Our presenter tonight is the real deal. It's the real deal from the world of academicians. She academia. She is very, 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 very much studied. She just a little bit, and she asked me, don't spend a lot of time on my CV. Let's just get on with the program. So I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on her CV, but I will just let you know that she is currently a PhD candidate in anthropology at the University of Chicago. She has an MA in anthropology from the University of Chicago. She has an MA in African American Studies from Temple University. She has a Juris Doctorate. Yes, she's a lawyer. She received that from Tulane Law School, and that's where I met her. We were in the same law school class. And she has a BS in political science from Tennessee State University. So when I say that she is the real deal, she definitely is. And as I say, look, I hold this up as a 7-page resume, 7-page CV. So I'm not going to read all of it. But the thing that I'm just going to read a couple of things out of here. She has redesigned course syllabus and teaching Introduction to African Civilizations, an historical and archaeological overview of the earliest African societies. And, I'm just trying to pick through things. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but something that really impresses me is that the field work that she has done, the field work, a lot of times we read books and all that kind of stuff, but this is something that she has actually, and this is, read this out, gone into the field. And when I'm saying gone into the field, she has actually, and let me pull this up right here. I'm going to read this. Conducted field work at a transitory Nubian activity site and at 2 Kerma period cemeteries as a part of a larger archaeological salvage campaign in the region along the 4th cataract of the Nile River. So when you see on TV and in the movies about them archaeologists out there in the sun and the desert, and they're digging around and trying to locate artifacts like King Tut's tomb and all that kind of stuff, she has been out there. Okay, she's been actually out there doing that kind of work. So as I said earlier, it's the real deal. And I've said enough, taken up enough time. I want to introduce right now, and let's see if we can, if I can introduce right now. All right, Dr. I'm sorry, Professor Deborah Hurd, and we have, I think that's Bishop, Bishop me and Bishop me. What I'm going to do, Bishop, is see if we can, for the next 20 minutes, let the professor uh, give a presentation, and then we're going to open up. We're going to open up the panel. But at this time, Professor Deborah Hurd, my friend, Professor Deborah Hurd, and the floor is yours. Thank you. First of all, thank you for joining us this evening. And I'm not as proficient as I should be, as I want to be. And I'm going to try to do is see if I can, first of all, if I can mute myself. All right, I got that done. And we want to give the floor. We want to give the floor to you, Professor. All right, good evening.
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
I think let's see if we can get your audio.
Can you not hear me?
All right.
Are you not hearing me?
It may be something on my end. All right. Let's try your audio.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay. We still don't have your audio.
I hear.
You hear me?
I do hear you.
Yes.
Okay. But you still can't hear me, Donatus?
All right. It's not.
Donatus,
it's not
you
coming,
might have muted.
It's not.
You might.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. We have one of our other viewers is saying that they can hear you. So I don't know why I can't, but let's see.
Unmute whatever you muted.
All right. Well, Doctor, I'm gonna because I want to hear the presentation. So let me see what can I do to try to figure this out. Everyone is saying they can hear you. Everyone is saying that, but I can't. So
you have your speakers.
Let's see. All right. All right. You know what? Let me see one other thing that I can try to do here. All right. I think I have it now. Doctor, you there? All right, I do.
You hear me now?
Right. I can hear you now. All right.
Okay. All
right. Again, good evening.
All right. So before you go, I need you to allow me to share screen. You have me disabled.
Okay, let's see. Share simultaneous. All right. Are you able now?
Yes.
All right, great. See, I'm learning stuff. All right.
All right. All right. So is everybody able to see my screen now?
All right. It's coming through.
All right. All right. So again, thank you to Donatus for inviting me to speak tonight. So I have about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and share with you some information. So when Donatus asked me what I would speak about, I thought about something that I saw last Thursday. So I saw the trailer for what will be the blockbuster movie of the year, The Woman King. And in it, you see these women from the Dahomey Kingdom, and it's based on a true story, who are serving as warriors. So I thought about the role of the warrior woman in African history. And so I had to place it within a larger context. I study the ancient world, and we had warrior queens in the ancient Africa. So to place the Dahomey warrior women in context, in a historical context, I am going to talk about the warrior queens of antiquity, the queens of Nubia. So in order to talk about these queens, we're going to focus on the Kushite queens. And so when we talk about Kush and the Kushites, we have to put them in a larger context, which is talking about Nubia and the Nubians. So who are the Nubians? Who were the Nubians? What is Nubia? So when we talk about the ancient world, we have to place it within a context that we can understand, and that's looking at the current political boundaries. So the area that we're focusing on is the Nile Valley in present day Egypt and Sudan. If we look at it, the map using the ancient borders, we see that the border between Egypt and Nubia was at this area here at the first cataract. And I will quickly give a quick definition because there are 6 cataracts along the Nile River. Cataract, like the cataract in the eye, is an obstruction. So it is a rock outcrop in the riverbed that causes the water to, well, it impedes the flow of the water. So you have like whirlpools at these particular places because the rock outcrop is impermeable to water. So water can't flow through it. It's not like sandstone where it wears down over time. This rock does not allow water to permeate. So the water has to forms rapids to get around it. So these areas, there are 6 major cataracts from Khartoum all the way up to around Aswan. And those are the areas that historians and geographers and Egyptologists and Nubiologists use to designate regions throughout Nubia. But this is the area from around Aswan to around Khartoum that was considered the ancient kingdom or area that we know of as Nubia. And so if we kind of interpose the political map of the current day situation with the ancient, we see that part of Lower Nubia is in part of the southernmost part of current day Egypt. So the political boundaries are not the same between Egypt of the ancient world and modern day Egypt and Sudan. Because the Nile River flows from south to north, the geography is divided up into upper and lower in both Nubia and Sudan. And the upper part, because the Nile is flowing from south to north, upper is actually south and lower is north. And so the people of the Nile Valley orient themselves to the river flow. So they traveled up south or down north. So we have to kind of reverse the way we think about directions when we're talking about the Nile River and how people navigate it. These are the major archaeological periods that Nubian history is usually divided into. And let me say this, Nubia is not the name of the geographical region. It is a name that archaeologists and Egyptologists have assigned to that region. It came into use much later, but it's a way to understand the geography of this area south of Egypt. So we have to understand it throughout history. You have people moving into and out of this area, not only the area of Nubia, but before there was an Egyptian state, you had people just moving in and out of that area that became Egypt. So when we look at the longue durée of African history, we understand it to be a history of migrations of people who end up settling in places and creating a history and a shared culture, and they become a nation or a state. So when we look at Nubian history, the remains of human populations moving throughout the Nubian Nile Valley goes all the way back to past what we would call the Paleolithic period. And you see the Paleolithic period ends around 8,000 BC. That doesn't say when it begins. So the Paleolithic begins as early as humans, Homo sapiens, began making stone tools. So it's much farther back in human history. But we can see remains of human populations throughout the Nubian Nile Valley from as early as this time period, so before 8,000 BC, all the way through to current times. So the time period that we're focusing on, though, and talking about these queens is the Kushite period. And so you see it's here around 850 BC to around 350 AD. Now, if you look up a little further here, where my cursor is at Kerma, you see that that is also named Kush. So at two different time periods, there was a society known as Kush in the Nubian Nile Valley. This earlier Kush we know of from the writings from around the 6th dynasty, the Old Kingdom of Egypt. And so we know that pharaohs sent some of their agents into Nubia, into Kush, to recruit warriors. Some of the earliest Nubians we know about were called during the A group. The land was called Tasseti, which is the land of the bow. So the Nubians were known to be excellent bowmen all throughout their history. They were archers. So during this time period of Kerma, we see that the pharaohs have sent down some of their government agents to recruit mercenaries, but also to have relationships with the chiefs who were ruling these different kingdoms, or these different, don't like to say tribes, but these different groups of people. But this Kush became very powerful to the point where during the 15th dynasty, with the Hyksos were in control of Lower Egypt, the pharaoh was concerned that the Kushites would make a move from the south and squeeze them out. So during this new kingdom, during the 18th dynasty, after the Hyksos were run from power in the north, the pharaoh turned to the south and ended up colonizing Upper Nubia. So the Kushites came under the Egyptian rule during the New Kingdom period. So this 1550 to 1050 BC. They regained their independence around 1050 BC, and you see this period called the reorganization. After that reorganization period, we have a new kingdom of Kush to arise a little bit further south. And this kingdom of Kush actually ends up pushing north into Egypt and becomes the 25th dynasty. That's the Napatan period. So the capital, the religious capital, the political capital was at the place called Napata around the Fourth Cataract. And then later in its history, the Kushite, and it mainly has to deal with where the royal burials are. So we know that the royal burial site moved from the Fourth Cataract region across the desert around to the Fifth Cataract region to Merowe. So that period is known as the Meroitic period. That is a period where the art becomes more pronounced as far as the indigenous element. So we see it looking less Egyptian and taking on a more, I would say, Nubian flavor. But this is also the period where we have the ruling queens. So this is the capital city of Napata at the Fourth Cataract, and then the move south to Merowe, so the Meroitic period. During this time period, we have inscriptions. So during the Meroitic period, writing is done prior to the New Kingdom colonization, there really is no writing in Nubia. The Egyptians write and bring temple construction into Nubia, and they're writing with the hieroglyphs. After the Egyptians leave Nubia, or after the Nubians regain their independence, the Nubians begin writing. Their writing, especially during the 25th dynasty, uses the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So they use the Egyptian language to write, their documents, their decrees, even to spell out their names, which are non-Egyptian names. But during the Meroitic period, they create their own script to write their inscriptions. So the name Kore, we typically associate with king because we see that associated with the Nubian kings. But later, our more recent research is showing that some queens have the title Kore. So Kore should probably be better interpreted as ruler. But the Kandaki we know of as the queen, but what specific role does the queen play? So we have people who believe that the queen was acting as a regent, but we see that there are several queens who are actually ruling the kingdom.
And Doctor, just a little bit housekeeping. We had some difficulty getting started. So what we're going to do tonight is what I said earlier about that schedule. We're going to throw that whole schedule out. We're going to take and let the entire show tonight be related to your presentation. So you can extend your presentation and say about quarter after. Then we'll open the floor up for discussion.
Okay, so that gives me good time. All right.
All right.
All right, so the name Kandaki, so we see this if you look at the account of in Acts, where Philip meets the eunuch on the road, and he's there, he's coming back from Jerusalem, but he's said to be a treasurer or a eunuch of the Ethiopian queen, and they call her name Candace. So in the Greek, that is where we get the name Candace. The word Kandake, which actually meant queen, it was not her name, it was her title. The Greeks took and softened the one part of the K's and made them C's. And so now we have the name Candace. The word the name Candace is actually a Meroitic word. So we think about the role of the Kandaki. And so the royal women had very exalted status in the Nubian kingdoms. And we'll talk about that some more when we have the part 2 of this. But we're just going to focus on these Kandakis. But the role of the Kandaki has been so inspiring that it has inspired modern day virgins. So this is the image that has basically become the icon or the image of the Sudanese Revolution of 2019. This young lady standing up, speaking on top of a car. And people gravitated toward that image. And as you can see in this Twitter feed, this Twitter account, the young lady says, Sudanese everywhere are referring to female protesters as Kandaka, which is the title given to the Nubian queens of ancient Sudan, whose gift to their descendants is a legacy of empowered women who fight hard for their country and their rights. And so there's this adoption even now of the image of the Kandaka. But when we talk about the warrior, we must understand that women weren't fighting because they were masculine or manly, or they were warmongering. women were fighting because they were acting out against oppression, and they were acting in forms to protect what was theirs. And if you think about that, and you think about it in that way, then you understand that African women have been doing that throughout history. So from our earliest history to African women on the continent and in the diaspora up till this very day, African women and African descendant women will fight against oppression and repression and to protect our communities. These are some of the names of the ruling queens that we have in Nubian history. There's at least one other one, Nuwita Mac, who we know from a pyramid at Jebel Barkal. So she's not buried with these other queens at Merowe. But these are some of Shanakta is the first of the known ruling queens. So she's ruling in her own right and on her own. And so we can see some of the images of these queens. The thing that I will have you note, and particularly in the Meroitic period, and again, I said when the capital moved to Merowe, there was not only the adoption of their own writing system, but there was also the adoption of more indigenous forms of art. So you will see that the women take on a very voluptuous physique, as opposed to being just very skinny and thin. And that showed their power and their dominance. So we have Amana Shiketo. And so this is the image that was in the flyer for today's lecture. What I would have you to notice that she is in a warrior stance, is she not? So she's got captives, she's got bow and arrow in one hand, she's got a mace ready to hit her captives over the head if need be. She has rope, so she has them tied, has them with their arms tied behind their backs. So she's a warrior, or she's depicted as a warrior, but that doesn't take away from her femininity. So you see, she's wearing a dress on both sides. She's not dressed as a man, she's dressed fully as a woman. She's wearing jewelry. Her nails are done. So you can see she has the dagger nails. She has the eye makeup. She's fully dressed in all of her female regalia, but she's also the ruling queen, and there is no disjunction between the two. So I noticed that some of the comments that I've seen about the trailer for The Woman King is that, okay, so why are they naming it with a title that is a male title? And so there's, you know, this kind of gender thing. But in Nubia, women could exercise power, but that didn't mean she was not feminine or a woman. She could still exercise power and still be a woman. There was no disjunction or disagreement between the two. There was not that kind of separation that she was not able to exercise power. So this is a drawing of what her pyramid looks like in the early 1800s, when one of the, what we call the early travelers from England came through and was drawing and making, they were taking pictures, well, not taking pictures, but taking drawings. And as you can see, there's someone on top doing a survey. So you can see that her pyramid and complex looked whole. This is what those pyramids look like now, and have looked like for probably less than 50 years after that drawing was taken. So at some period after those early travelers came through, an Italian doctor named Ferlini came through Sudan looking for treasures. So he just knew that there were treasures in these pyramids. at Meroe. So he began digging, trying to find treasures. He wasn't finding anything, and he wasn't going through the pyramids fast enough. So what he started doing, and the damage that you see, is that he started putting dynamite in these pyramids. So what you see, these are scorch marks. He blew the tops off of these pyramids looking for treasures. And he eventually found what he was looking for when he got to Mount Shiketo's pyramid. So she had all kinds of gold jewelry, very ornate, but the damage that he caused is just, it's sickening. So this is a stela, or a round tablet of the queen of Mount Shiketo, and she's here with a Nubian goddess, Amasimi. And as you can see, Amasimi is giving her ankhs, which are the symbol of life. So she's breathing life into the queen. What I want you to see here, though, is even though we've seen the image of the warrior, and there really is no evidence that Amana Shiketo was actually at war with anyone. But what you see here is a different image. So you see that she has these lines in her neck. And these marks are for age. You see that her arms are kind of saggy. Her body is just that of an older, mature woman. And when I see this, I interpreted it to say that she is showing that she has given her life to the preservation of the Nubian kingdom. And as a mother, so with the sagging arm, sagging breast, she has nurtured the kingdom with her very body. So instead of seeing this as someone who's just old, she is being celebrated as a mother who has given her life, dedicated her life to the preservation of the kingdom, as a mother does with her children. And we have a Amanatore and a Takamani. Now, Amanatore is here. The Takamani is the king. So they are actually co-rulers. And this is at the turn of the millennium, the turn from BC or BCE to AD or CE. So at some point, if we think about the record in Acts about the Kandaki, it was going to be the queen that's being talked about was either Amana Shiketo or Amanatore. One of those two queens was on the throne at this time when that incident or that event would have taken place. But here you also see has that warrior stance like the king. She has the captives by their hair, and she has her sword raised to take off their heads. But again, her Natakamani, he's dressed in a kilt as a man would, but she's dressed full length dress as a female queen would. So again, there's no dichotomy. There's no separation between her being a warrior and being a queen. She can be both. She can be a warrior and maintain her status as a woman. And again, there is no real proof or evidence that Amanatore actually went to war either. So there are these depictions of these women as warriors, but they are also shown, just being there as a regular queen. So it's that perception that if need be, these women will protect the kingdom as warriors. But we do know, and I'll keep going. This is going to be the last one. So we'll talk about this when I pick up with the second part. I skipped over one of the queens, and that's Amana Reynes, and I skipped over her for a reason, because Amana Reynes actually did go to war. She actually was a warrior queen, and she's recorded in Roman history. So we'll talk about that in detail and go back to some of the other Nubian queens that we know of who actually engaged in battle. So with that, I will stop sharing and I'll take any questions that you may have.
All right, Doc. All right. That's a lot of information. And, for our viewers, as I said, this professor is the real deal. And you can tell her knowledge from just this brief presentation that she's given. So we're going to open up. And we did have someone that was in and I think we have a couple of people that are waiting now to join us by Zoom. And that might be, I think, looks like the Bishop, the iPhone 9. Bishop, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
All right. And then we have another person that's joined us, and it's Nicker, please. Oh, well, we're going to see. We're going to see if whatever comments that we have. But Bishop, you have some questions or some comments relating to?
I have a comment. I'd love to make a comment or two. Sister Doctor, she was off to, the stuff she was bringing, it means something to me, because for some time, I was chauvinist, because I was infused with too much of the other people's stuff. But as I began to learn about the Black woman and who she is, and so not only the warriors or not only the queens, but our sisters, period. And when, to get back to get to know who they were and get back to respecting them like they deserve to be respected, getting back to them respecting themselves as they deserve to be respected. Because, when we was coming up, if you called the Black woman a certain thing, they was about to fight. But now they make it like a part of their normal conversation. They call it to themselves. So, but I started seeing Brother Donatus and, just saying how the power of the Black woman. And man, it's just, I've been on and on with it lately, that for a couple of years now. But thank you, Doc, for teaching. I appreciate you letting us know about our sisters, the mothers of civilization. And I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen. All right. But thank you for allowing me to speak, my brother.
All right. All right, Bishop, as always, thank you for your input. Professor, one of the things that came out of your presentation this evening, and that's you can still be strong and still be feminine. That is a point, and I know we're going to get more. I know you're going to get more into in part 2 of your presentation, but that's something that kind of stands out. That these individuals, these ladies, were able to have that duality, play both roles, that feminine role, and as we speak about the nurturing, and also that strength, exhibit that strength. And I think, Bishop, something that you've touched upon, that even today, in 2022, there are many, many, many women that are playing that same role, showing that strength. And when we have a lot of single mother households, showing that strength, but at the same time, maintaining that femininity. Doctor, there's some things that you touched on, and I just want to get into it for a minute. I'm glad that you spoke about gave the overview, first of all, about Nubia and its relationship to Egypt and its relationship to the Sudan. And let me just throw a little something in the mix. When you're doing this kind of study, something that I've picked up on, and I think in some of the lectures that you've performed, that when you have educators, when you have folks in the academics, there was a piece that you did, a lecture that you gave, speaking about the gatekeepers, the barbarians at the gates, that the same way that we're reminded in Thessalonians to prove all things and hold fast that which is good, some of the stuff that we read, some of the things that we've been told aren't really exactly as folks have taught us that they are. And some of this history, and I'm trying to pick my words and choose my words wisely. When we look at this area in my understanding, when we look at this area, Nubia, and we talk about the Nubians, to start off with, it's easy to gloss over the fact that this entire area of Nubia, from Upper Nubia, what my understanding is right now, that's going towards the southern part of Ethiopia. So Upper Nubia is no doubt, no question that that's African people. When we look at the middle part, and you place the cataracts and stuff, and when we look at that intersection between what some folks would say would be Nubia and Egypt, that's still African. And when you get to the lower, where actually it's going to be now the lower Egypt on the Mediterranean, that's where you find more of a mixture. But a discussion that you and I had before, and something you tried to open my eyes to the fact that that region, that entire region, it was like a highway where folks coming from Asia and traveling. We know we had all type of trade going on all that while. And something that I was impressed with in our earlier discussions, that at one period of time, that there really was not this idea of being a possessor, that this is, and I think you used the terms of being the body politic, or the country claiming that this is, and put a name on it, that folks just kind of move freely back and forward. But that's, and we'll be picking back up on this, and just so that I can do a little bit housekeeping, because it is starting to get a little bit late. My understanding is that you'll be back for part 2 of this discussion, but it will not be next week. But it'll be the following week.
Yes.
Okay, so the following week, and we'll get into some more details about the warrior queens, and keeping in line with the Thessalonians' instructions to prove all things. As I say, you hear me say something on this show, don't take it for gospel. You hear one of our presenters, you hear one of our panel members, you hear somebody, see somebody on Facebook say something. I encourage you, same as Thessalonians, to do your own research. The doctor has given us some information. This show is being recorded. It'll be online. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get it online. It will be on Facebook. It'll stay on Facebook tonight because we're recording on Facebook also. But I just a couple of reference works, Doctor, and I know that you and I did have a chance to speak a little bit about some other materials. But these are some materials that we've talked about here on the program, and I think that our viewers can actually, this will be a good starting point for some of them. A lot of them already have these materials in their library, but there's just a few titles and a few authors. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, Stolen Legacy by George James, The African Origin of Civilization by Sheikh Jop, and African Origins of the Major Western Religions by Dr. Ben Yochanan, and The Civilization or Barbarism by Sheikh Jop. So these are some other works that in the next 2 weeks that you'll have an opportunity, viewers, you'll have an opportunity to do a little bit follow up on this. And before we close out, one of the things that has not been touched upon tonight, and I picked up a little bit doing a little bit research, that the queens, some of the Nubian queens, they had a few different roles, not only a role in a government, but they also, to a certain extent, had a role in the spiritual lives of the people. And if you can pick up a little bit on that next week, and I think that'll give us a little bit more enlightenment. We are at that time. I have to close it out. I want to thank you, my friend, Professor Deborah Hurd. Thank you, Bishop, for coming on. And as I said, we changed up the format a little bit tonight, and I think probably 2 weeks from now we'll have to do the same thing and devote the entire show to the presentation. But again, I look forward to you being back with us here again in 2 weeks, my friend,
right.
Dr. Deborah Hurd. All right.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
All right. And
Thank
as I close out, and as I normally close out, that something that I know, and I know that there is an almighty being. I call that being God, but I know that being is indeed almighty, and it's my prayer that in this upcoming week, no matter whatever it is that the Almighty has planned for you and yours, that God Almighty blesses you and yours with peace.